Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday episode. Got a lot to talk about today. Big thing being that Hollywood is eating itself alive. Netflix has officially announced that it is acquiring Warner Brothers, one of the oldest studios in existence, controls some very high-profile IP. And with me today to talk about all this and more is my fantastic panel of nerds, starting with Brian from the Popcast. How you doing, Brian?
Not bad, man. Not bad. Glad to be here. So I was sitting here wearing a hat, and I realized because you guys are both proud bald men, and John's coming on, and he's a proud bald man, and I realized I need to flaunt my hair today.
Wow,
it's important for me to flaunt my hair. Okay. No, I'm glad to be here, bro. It's been a long week. Christmas is crazy. Working on the next documentary. I've been working 15, 16 hours a day easily. I've been literally sleeping 3 or 4 hours a day. It's nuts. But rise and grind, bro. Feeling good. And hopefully our last documentary of the year will be out middle of next week. And I think people will be very, very happy with it.
What's the documentary about?
I can't tell you because Shane will fucking snipe me. So,
no. Well,
I can tell you after the show, but I can't tell you right now.
So I know that you dealt with a lot of crazy women this morning.
Oh my God, the make and bake, bro. Oh. So every year we do this thing called a make and bake, and there's 60 chicks that come to do a cookie exchange and a Christmas craft. And there's not enough husbands and boyfriends and significant others to help set this thing up. But these women that are up all night baking, then with a few hours of sleep, actually get up and go to an event dressed to the nines, all Christmased out at 10 a.m. to argue over crafts for about 4 hours straight while getting hopped up on sugar and hot cocoa and cookies. And it was me and 4 dudes setting up, and all these chicks, they're all angry. They're rushing. Dude, it was my morning was difficult. Difficult morning.
Yes. Well, speaking of difficult, Odin from O&B Reviews is here. How you doing, Odin?
what do you mean difficult?
Hey, you don't like
chicks are
pineapple
crazy,
on
man.
pizza, so...
Because I'm normal. Because I agree with the vast majority of this chat, most likely. I mean, it's just, oh my goodness, it's heresy. And it's appropriate because it's the feast of St. Nicholas, and he is notorious for having slapped a heretic. So today is National Slap a Heretic Day.
Bitch slaps.
Uh-huh. Oh, by the way, Matt, Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm.
This shirt is going on my site tomorrow. If you guys want to buy it, mixtees.com.
Does it come in any base color other than black?
Yes, it comes in navy blue, mint green, all the Christmas colors.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy.
It's like a faux Christmas sweater, you know.
I need to vent for a moment. I hate and I'm associated with a lot of these people too, but I hate these people who put out shirts and the only base color they put out is black. I hate it.
I own a t-shirt site. Half my designs are only black.
I know, but I mean creators who it's should know better. It's no, you need to give options. I hate black t-shirts, especially when you're out in the sun because it's hot as hell. I need lighter options.
Odin, why is the one design on my website that you own only in black then?
Because you put it together.
Did I really? Oh shit, I remember that. I'll fix that. My bad.
I sent you the design. And
I don't remember.
Check and wait, bro.
Never mind. Okay, my bad. I'll fix that, bro.
You're like Martha Radis.
I had some new colors. I didn't know I set it up.
Frankly, Martha, I don't give a damn.
I'm gonna make a note of that. Odin's shirt will be in multiple colors.
Self-owned on a whole nother level. I've never witnessed anything quite like that.
I don't remember any of that, bro.
It's been a long time, man. So I mean,
apparently, yeah.
Oh, memory's a terrible thing. Hey, have you guys ever had a good friend who you could always rely on and hang out with and always did fun stuff with? And then the minute he gets a girlfriend, he just disappears and you never see him again?
Yeah, it's same concept with video games.
Yeah. Well, Tom Connors Jr. is that man. Ever since he got a new girlfriend, he's been ditching the show, guys. He's been actively not showing up because he's got too much other stuff going on that the lovely lady that he is seeing requires of him. So
I remember Robert Meyer Burnett was like that too. Robert Meyer Burnett was coming on every single show, spending all kinds of time with us, and then he started dating, and we haven't seen him in like 2 years.
Yeah, that's right. But Tom sends his regards. He's unable to join us today, and it'll be unclear if he's ever able to join us again, so long as he's got the lovely lady on his arm. Yes, but he sends his regards, and we're going to supposedly be having the one and only John Yulden show up to fill Tom's slot. Should he ever decide to stop taking a bath?
Yeah, right now he's currently getting out of the bath and wiping his naked body down with a sleek soot towel. So,
yes. Well, as Odin would say, cleanliness is next to godliness. So we can't fault him for bathing himself.
That's correct.
Now that you mention it, I just went to the site and I'm like, oh my gosh, why is it taking me this long to realize that the only design is a black t-shirt?
I'm telling you, that's why I thought I was about to own you with that. I didn't realize I was one who made it.
I love the design, but I didn't even know about the Asgard Alliance one either.
Oh, I told you about it.
No, because I've said before, it's like whatever you want to do, man. I trust you. So I don't think I ever got like here's the link to the Asgard Alliance one.
I definitely sent it to you, and the Asgard Alliance is one of the coolest shirts on our site.
I love it, dude. It's awesome.
Yeah. I will put that in other colors for you.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I didn't know about your reversion to black.
Yes.
To be fair, like most of the YouTubers that I make designs for, they just want black shirts.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean, again, I don't deny that people enjoy it. It's just for me personally, I hate it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, black is very slimming.
Right. Well, this shirt is going to come in all the Christmas colors. It's a whole rainbow of colors.
Love it, dude. So good.
Yes, Odin's naturally slim, so he doesn't have to worry about wearing dark colors.
Or it's because it's like I'm comfortable with the fact that I am not thin, and so if I don't look thin, I'm okay with that.
There you go. You know what else we're okay with, guys, is our Salty Nerd memberships, because we've already hit our goal, and we're going to get to those people in a minute, but we're going to up our goal to 15.
Ooh, big baller.
Whoa.
15. Also, be sure to share and subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, because we're trying to hit that 25K goal in just 3 weeks. I think we can hit it, guys. Not sure.
Easily.
Just need like 4,000 subs. It's no big deal.
That's not hard. That's not hard. Everyone get out there and share, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
Although I saw a windfall on my main channel this last month. I'm not trying to rub it in, but I have literally gained 6,300 subs in the last 28 days. It's been a wild windfall. That Goonies documentary served me well, dude.
Very good. Speaking of serving us well, if you want to continue to interact with our community outside of the live stream, head on over to saltynerddiscord.com, join our Discord server. It's mostly video game stuff, but we do have a little section carved out for the entertainment industry stuff. So it should be good times all the way over there. And I also want to remind you that after this show, Mephisto's movie reviews, the Real McCoy podcast, is going to be going on. So go and check them out. But if you don't like watching the Real McCoy, we have the Brain Show that's going live immediately after Brian Peas in a Bottle. Brian, what's going on the Brain Show today?
Oh, we're talking about Starfleet Academy. We're talking about the DC stuff in relation to the Netflix buyout. The movies coming up this year. There's actually a lot of entertainment news this time. The politics have been sort of dry lately, and entertainment is on the menu today. So please join us.
Yes, and speaking of entertainment, your boyfriend and co-host has gotten out of the bath and decided to join us. How you doing, John?
Yeah,
you look very, very clean and fresh right now.
Look, you guys don't know the work that goes into getting myself prepared and ready for the Brain Show. You know, it's a bath, it's a moisturizing process. You know, it's not easy to be this beautiful, quite frankly.
Salt scrub.
Yes. We don't hate you because you're beautiful, John. So
because I'm British. Let's get it out. Let's do it now.
Yes, we hate you because you're British, and you guys keep trying to find X into the ground and all this.
It's built into us. It's built into us.
Yeah. Okay. See you later, guys.
but But thank you for joining us on the show and taking Tom Connors Jr.'s spot today, John. We appreciate it. So, guys, you're going to get a double dose of Brian and John. So Saturday, then right into Brain Show territory. Can't get enough of these guys.
Yeah. Let's go.
All right. Want to give a big shout out to Jillian H., formerly Jillian N. She gifted 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships. Thank you so much, Jillian. Appreciate you. And of course, Major Chai Chai gifted 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships, getting us to our goal. And of course, the always present Eric Winberg gifting his obligatory 1 Salty Nerd Podcast membership brings us to 11. So we just need 4 more to hit our new goal, guys. So 4 more of those fantastic gifted memberships. And this guy, I don't think I've heard of him before. John Yulden just gifted £4.99 super chat. Worst outcome: Netflix acquiring WB and pool of poor possible outcomes. Have a great show, guys, and like and subscribe all. Well, John, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that deep. And
can I just ask Matt quickly? Did you say a few minutes ago before I came on that Tom Connors has got a girlfriend now?
Yes.
If it turns out it's Kathleen Kennedy, I'm going to be very, very upset. Okay.
Well, I kind of think that Tom has higher standards than Kathleen Kennedy. So we'll see. I mean, who knows? He could be slumming it with her at this point. Anyway, speaking of slumming it, we got Mexican Iron Man, our #1 consistent fan who's not a YouTuber, who's been donating to us almost every episode this year. Appreciate Mexican Iron Man for $9.99. Netflix news is great. Now we can count on crappy DC and WB quality, lots of slop, movie theaters tanking further, and best of all, Gunn's sucky mediocrity will be right at home on Netflix. So it's hard to argue with that logic. Mexican Iron Man always comes with the facts, Brian. I don't know if you know that or not.
Well, my preference would just be that he just goes away. That'd be the better thing.
Could be. But speaking of stuff that doesn't go away, guys, let's get to our first story of the day, which is Zootopia. Apparently this movie's huge. Apparently, it's like broken all types of records for Disney. It has made something like, I don't know, close to $500 million in its opening weekend. And it also now has the distinction of being like one of the biggest Chinese box office openings in history, pulling in close to $300 million in its opening weekend in China alone. And it's kind of interesting because, a lot of people kind of overlook the fact that when it comes to animated stuff, like you can dub in voices, right? Like they're not going to watch the stuff in English. It's actually in their native Chinese language. And so like the barrier to entry from animation and live action is I think quite different and plays a role in how well animated fare does over in China. But I'm going to throw this to our box office expert here, Odin, to give us the breakdown of why he thinks Zootopia 2 is doing so well and the impact the Chinese box office is going to have on this.
Yeah, absolutely. The Chinese box office is kind of its own thing, so I kind of save that for a second. But we kind of, at least I know when I looked back like last year when we were talking about films next year, the question's always, oh, what do you think the next year's billion-dollar films are going to be? What films have a chance of doing it, right? And one of the films that I've been saying now for probably well over a year, because as soon as I saw it, I always remembered, oh, that's right, Zootopia is coming out that year. Oh, that's right, Zootopia is likely going to hit $1 billion. Was because the first film, people forget, was very successful in its own right. It made over $1 billion as a new, fresh property. Since then, it has gone on to be very successful on streaming, very successful on physical media sales as well. And as far as briefly connecting it back to China, apparently there's also a Zootopia land in Shanghai or Disney Shanghai, and there is like a parts specifically for Zootopia itself. So it makes a lot of sense as to why that would at the very least be like within the cultural zeitgeist of at least that specific area of China. And so it's not surprising that it's doing well, right? I don't think anyone is surprised that it is doing well in a general sense because of the fact that it was, again, at least for me, not a surprise because I knew that this film had a lot of potential to do really well and to likely get over $1 billion, very similar to what Inside Out 2 was able to do, right? It was like that was also a movie that was like, okay, if things continue on with the trend of Disney films underperforming, maybe that could be a greater sign of Disney not being where it once was and really being on the steep decline, even if it's like sure things aren't doing anything. But that film went over to make like $1.5 billion when that came out a couple years ago. Zootopia 2 was basically bound for the same thing. What no one, I think, expected, at least not until like maybe a couple weeks leading up to the release, because that's when we started to get some early pre-sale data from China, was how big this film was going to be there. The only reason why the film is getting as much conversation and as much attention and the conversation about records, the only reason is because of China. Because without China, the film's having a decent run. Like if you take China's box office out of it, it's at about $360 million globally. With China, it bumps up to almost $700 million globally as of right now. So China is the primary driver for the conversation for this movie. And I honestly think that's also one of the biggest problems for the film, because not because it's going to like keep it from making money, because for the record, because of the most recent numbers that have been released, it has now made money back. It's now reached its break-even point. It's now profitable officially. Okay, so it's going to make a bunch of money, right? It's only been out for a week. We're gonna get a lot more international data this weekend. It's gonna get very close to $1 billion this weekend. Don't be surprised if it gets closer to 800+ million by the end of this weekend. So this film's easily gonna get to $1 billion. Could even get to 1.5 or more if it continues to trend and track really, really well. And depending on how much money it does in China, it's almost at 300 million plus. Obviously, those numbers are gonna go up quite a bit once the numbers get updated. But this is a film that, again, is solely being driven by the Chinese box office. And remember, there's a couple of problems with that as far as what that could mean for long-term profitability, right? Because its total global box office, it helps a lot. The visual helps a lot. Record-breaking, $300+ million opening, or, you know, close to $300 million opening, etc. All those are really great slogans, are all really great headlines. But what they always forget to mention to you is they only get 25%. They only get 25% of that. And that's the reason why, is even though it's well past its break-even point, it's only made $2 million in net profit, because the largest chunk of its entire box office is from one country, China, and it only gets 25% of that box office. So it's still going to make a lot of money. It's still going to make a lot of profit, because the fact that you're already there after 1 week is very, very impressive. But you also have to keep in mind, and this is where, again, conspiracy brain comes on for a second. I don't trust China. I don't know about you guys. China is not a very trustworthy country.
China is asshole.
Something about the communist system there, and all the reporting from China has always been suspect. And also, I believe there's actually history of China lying about numbers, lying about certain things. So it's almost like it's within them to possibly work with companies or work with groups to make things seem bigger and better than what they actually are. Now, again,
Inflating.
I do not have proof of this. I want to be very clear. I do not have those facts in front of me. That's pure speculation on my part. But what I will say is this. It's very weird to see a film like Zootopia be this big, when, if you look at the last 5 years, no Hollywood film has gotten anywhere close to what just happened in the last 5 years. You look back even further. This film is doing better than Avatar 2. By the way, the entirety of Avatar 2's run, not just opening weekend, it has already surpassed Avatar 2 in China. And we all know how Avatar was a massive IP that was very well and did very well in China for both of its films. A lot better the first time, but really well here. And you look at almost any other film in the history of China, and other than their other, eyesore for me at least, is the whole Ninja 2 stuff, where it's like, oh yeah, that film made almost $2 billion in our country. I'm like, did it though? Again, I have questions, and it's just because I don't trust them. I don't trust China. I don't trust their reporting, and that goes for anything. It's funny because some people are kind of coming out of the woodwork saying like, oh, like you have no evidence. It's like, that's true, but I've also never trusted China with anything, especially box office. So when it comes to these things, again, there's the facts that this film is doing well. It's profitable. It's going to make more and more bank. It's getting very, very high praise from all people across the board. But the primary driver for the film and for the stories about the film is China. And that box office is, again, an asterisk, because one, they only get 25% of that. So it's not as impressive as you would think. And two, can we really trust the numbers? I don't know.
Well, John, a big part of the success of Zootopia 2 is the worldwide box office, as Odin just kind of went through, most of which is coming from China. But since you're across the pond, is there like any inkling of Europeans being big on this movie?
I don't know too much about this film. I've seen the news broken this week. The only thing I can really say on it is the fact that I've got friends that have got kids, and they are talking about they're really looking forward to going to see it. So there is that hype from friends with family that this is something that the kids are going to enjoy and they're going to go and see it. So there has got that hype element to it that I would say. On the flip side, Avatar, that's not the same. It's very, very quiet on that front. So I think there's definitely hype in the UK for it, but whether it's at China's inflated figures, we don't know. As Odin was saying.
Well, I also think that the timing is also really good on this movie because like we're going into the holiday season. All my nieces and nephews were really excited to go see this movie. It was all they could talk about, this past week. And I think that there's been like a serious lack of good family fare, especially like stuff where you like from Disney where you could be like, okay, like I feel comfortable taking my kids to go see this particular type of movie. And so I think the holiday release and the fact that it's a sequel to a very popular movie and that it's fairly like family safe from what I understand are all contributing to this thing. So hopefully that sends a message to Hollywood about the type of content that they need to start putting out more of. But Brian, going back about 10 years, Hollywood was really going heavy into China because they're like, the Chinese box office is untapped. There's so many people there. There's so much money to be made. And so they were actually doing a lot of stuff to try to make inroads into the Chinese box office. And a lot of those efforts kind of like fell flat on their face, mostly, as Odin correctly pointed out, because of the communist government that has a hand in every pocket and needs to be bribed into oblivion in order to get any traction whatsoever. Do you think that this news of the Chinese box office doing so well for Zootopia is going to kind of resurrect these notions that the studios have that like they need to focus more on the Chinese box office?
No, because I think the studios know the real numbers. Let me ask you a question, Odin. What's the cut the studio gets from China versus the US, do you know?
A company from China that releases, you mean?
No, like let's say Warner Brothers releases a movie in China, what is the cut of the box office do they get?
They only get 25%.
Okay, and what's the cut of the box office here in the States?
Here in the States, it's 55%.
Okay, so the money that you would make in China, thank you, Odin, the money you would make in China has to be cut in half immediately in comparison to domestic box office. Immediately. So they're already cutting it in half with their shares at the box office. And you cut it in half again with China. So in order to be successful via their current metrics, a superhero film in China would have to do what? $2 billion?
If that's where it's going to be, most of its box office coming from, right? I mean, yeah. If this had an MCU level budget, they wouldn't be close to profitability right now because of China.
Right. So in addition to that, you have the restrictions. Does anyone not recall the Black Panther movie opening in China? And they wouldn't allow the poster to have a black person on it?
Force Awakens as well. Yeah.
Bro, the difference
Mermaid.
between U.S. posters and China posters for every film has been, Brady, the absence of black people. That is crazy. And then in addition to that, they have specific cuts in China. They they censor their product. They censor their marketing. They're difficult to work with. They take most of the box office. Like you literally you're making 23.5%. I mean, dude, at what point is China ever going to be a dominating force in Hollywood? In reality, it's like, well, it'd be nice to open in China. I think, and really, China is not the driving force behind the profitability of a movie. It's more like an added benefit. That's all it can ever be, because the government there is so stifling, because their censorship laws are so stifling, because they take so much of the box office, right? It can never be what the United States is, what domestic box office is, because we're free here. Unfortunately for some people.
Unfortunately, we're so
For them,
free.
yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for China.
Speak for yourselves,
For
guys.
the communists, at least. It's
But
You're not American, John.
because of our freedom of speech laws, because of the way we work corporate wise, capitalist, the clamp down on oligopolies and all that stuff, there is more money to be made domestically, and I don't think that's going to change for a very, very, very long time. Which means that China is a player because of how many people they have, like raw, insane amounts of zombie people. They have so many people. But you have to have 4 of every one of you have 4 Chinese box office goers for every 1 United States box office goer. So at what time can China, at what point can China ever really be a beast? Maybe if they increase their population times 2 again, maybe they'll be on the same level as our domestic box office.
I always like to say, in regards to China box office, it's fool's gold, right? It looks really nice. It looks really pretty. It looks great on a spreadsheet. Right, because you're like, oh man, look, our film made $1 billion, and then you look at some of the biggest films of all time and how well their box office was, and then you just look at China alone, and you say, oh, you only got there because of China. You only got there because of this one country where it had the largest share of pretty much any market, with the exception sometimes of the domestic market being a little bit larger. So it's fool's gold, right? Because it's like it makes things look a lot bigger than what they are. But what it does is it makes your break-even point that much higher because you need to make a lot more because of how little you get return on that.
I like that so much. Fool's gold. It's such a, because if people don't know what fool's gold is, it's pyrite. It's a metal deposit that you would find next to gold in places that you would find gold, but it had no value. It looked like gold, but it didn't have the same malleability. It couldn't be alloyed. And people that would come during the California gold rush, they thought that they were coming up when they would get to a deposit of what appeared to be gold, and they would spend a year mining all this stuff, dragging it back down to get processed, only to find out that it was worthless. That's exactly what China is. China has very little value in comparison to the domestic box office.
Have you guys heard about these ghost cities that the government just built? Like they'll build entire cities that nobody lives in just to have the public works project to keep their economy going.
Well, they're demolishing a lot of them now as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because they're just not sustainable.
They build them for nobody, and then like they tear them down so they can rebuild them.
Where is this?
This is China.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget, like, China is one of the 17 countries still practicing modern day slavery. I don't understand how anyone can justify not criticizing China. There are 17 countries still practicing slavery today. And the only country on that list that is a first world country is China. And everyone just ignores it. An entire population of Uyghurs that are literally in chains right now, effectively. No one talks about it.
They're also committing like one of the biggest current genocides going on with that same population. It's crazy.
Someone said, isn't working a job slavery? No, because you're getting something, even if it's minimal, you're getting something in return for your sweat labor, and you don't have to do it. The Uyghurs have no choice. They don't get anything for it, and they have to do it or they die. Yeah, that's the difference between slavery.
We're talking about work camps in this situation.
Big difference, guys. And the fact that China right now, China is never criticized by the same people that criticize everything the U.S. does. Everything. Bro, you can say the wrong word with the wrong connotation and you're canceled. But no one complains about China when they're actively participating in genocide and slavery and active racism. And no one says a word. Because they want that China money, but it's fool's gold because it's only worth 25% of what it's worth here. And I don't understand how everyone doesn't see this.
Well, real quick before we move on, Odin, I want to just touch base with you on like the box office split. Mm-hmm. It's always been my understanding that a lot of film studios, they negotiate like a varying split. So like for opening weekend box office, the split's like 80-20 studio theater, and then every subsequent week it goes down, especially like for the big releases until it gets to that 50% mark. Is that correct, or am I like old school about it?
Yeah, so I mean, this is how it was for a long time. I worked at a theater, worked in the marketing portion of the theater, and one of the things that I got to learn early on, because I had to ask my bosses of hey, how do I handle guest interactions when they ask about why our ticket prices are so high or why the popcorn is so expensive, etc. And they told me like, well, you should tell them that when a film opens, we get 10 cents on the dollar, basically, right? That for every $10 a movie ticket is, we get $1 of that in the opening weekend, essentially. So that's how it was before COVID. COVID changed a lot of this, and that's the reason why some of the metrics that used to be very reliable. So, like for instance, your break-even point being 2.5 times your budget, it's now closer to 3 because of not only of those kind of deals changing, but also because of the nature of how films are now more international in their scope than ever before. And so because you rely more on money where you get less return on investment, means you have to make that much more money to actually, be able to break even. So yeah, but in general, that's how it was, is you would have opening weekend, maybe first 2 weeks. Disney was notorious for being like a vice grip of, hey, you want to have our movies? All right, you got to be able to give us 90% first and second weekend. And then after that, then it drops down quite a bit. Now, when films lag out quite a bit, then that ultimately means that money is going to be very good for the theaters, because the theater's going to get that much more money down the road. But basically, by the end of their run, that's where the numbers really come down to. By the end of their run, it's around about a 55% on average return from the studios.
Okay.
For total domestic box office.
Right, and then
you
got to remember too. So after the movie leaves theater, you have VOD, you have onboarding, you have physical media. There's so many other avenues of profitability for a movie after it's left theater. That's not the same in China. It's not. They're not making remotely the same money on VOD, on onboard, on any of these like TTS services, on any of the stuff where you can rent and buy the movie either physically or digitally. Those aren't really a lot of options in China. So the digital releases in China are like, I forgot where the metric was, but I remember reading it's like 60-something% just piracy. Mm-hmm. Right? That's China. Like, oh, I want to make money on my movie in China. Can someone rent or to buy? Oh no, 65% of the population's already bought it or already got it. They've already downloaded it from American streaming services. So you don't have the same profitability after it leaves theaters either. It's all fool's gold, man. I love that analogy, Odin.
Well, guys, speaking of profitability, we have a super chat to get to from Doomta for $2. James Gunn rules. Eat it, Snyder Bros.
As someone who's not a Snyder bro, I can hate both equally.
Yes, we're equal opportunity haters. And guys,
I like James Gunn.
Guys,
we know.
Brian,
we know.
Yeah.
Speaking of hating, have you guys seen the new One Trek Hill poster for the upcoming Starfleet Academy show? This thing,
that's
guys,
clever. One Trek Hill.
Look at this.
Gosh.
It's like they're actively trying to make people not watch this show.
Dude, it's crazy. It feels like they're doing this on purpose. It looks like some SNL thing. Like an SNL did this.
It's like
this is like a
Diaries and
it's a CW show.
Yeah, that's
like,
exactly.
Clearly, this has nothing to do with Trek. At least the Klingon isn't wearing a dress in this photo.
Yeah.
But
so the person involved, the co-showrunner, because it's actually I always forget her name. She's actually a very nice person. I've spoken to her. So there's the showrunners are Kurtzman and some other woman. I'm forgetting her name right now. But this woman is actually famous because of her past work as showrunning for Nancy Drew, the CW show, for that Lightning, Johnny Quick, whatever Lightning show, CW, a bunch of CW shows. So she is just doing what she's always done. She makes CW, young romance, young adult kind of shows. I don't blame her for doing exactly what she's been doing for 20 years. I don't blame her for that. I blame Kurtzman for hiring her to do that for a Star Trek show. It makes no sense. And she is a really nice person, by the way.
Brian, for all the people out there who don't follow this stuff, can you give us a breakdown on what Starfleet Academy is, where it fits in the timeline, and why it's ending up being so controversial?
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Starfleet Academy takes place in the Discovery timeline. And when I say Discovery timeline, I'm not talking about in the new Kurtzman era Star Trek. I'm talking about literally in the future, 900 plus years in the future. It takes place after Star Trek Discovery. It is a sequel to Star Trek Discovery. That's what it is. And it's about a bunch of young queer people in Starfleet Academy. I'm not making that word up. I'm not saying queer to make you laugh. I'm saying that because that's what they said they were. A bunch of young queer Starfleet Academy cadets that are going through their lives and all the drama that entails, because you know it's very dramatic being queer. And if you throw in a couple of oldies like Robert Picardo and favorites like our favorite 400-pound Tilly, then you get a member-berry-ridden show. The crazy thing about this is I think that they think that if they throw Discovery actors in there as cameos, that will make people want to watch. Crazy.
No.
The only thing I watched the trailer for was to see what Robert Picardo looked like as the Doctor, and I was thoroughly disappointed. This entire show is basically set as a sequel to Star Trek Discovery, but they took everything we hate about Discovery, which was most of it, but the real worst bits, and they decided to only keep those bits. So you take Star Trek Discovery, and you strip out any action, any Star Trek stuff, any science fiction, and you keep only the dramatic, queer, super gay stuff, and you put that on Earth and call it Starfleet Academy. That's what this is. I'm not joking. That's exactly what this is. And I do not blame the showrunner because she's been producing that kind of TV for 20 years. I blame Kurtzman because he hired her to do that to his Star Trek show, which makes zero sense.
Well, also, you got Holly Hunter and Paul Giamatti, who are two pretty recognizable big name actors involved in the show. But everything that has been coming out of it, it's been focusing on the new young characters, and none of them seem all that interesting. And they do seem extremely queer.
Noga Lando's the showrunner. My bad.
Holly Hunter, actually, when you watch the previous trailer, her acting, it's like she's drunk. It's like she's hammered through that. Well, I wouldn't blame her, to be honest with you, because it's just a paycheck, but she gets hammered.
Yeah, so there gets to a point in a person's life when they get old enough, like when they're aged, that in order to appear young and virile, they have to try to force their body and their voices and their brain to do something that they're young people that there was no problem for when they were young, and it makes them sound drunk. And I think Holly Hunter's at the point, just like, unfortunately, Patrick Stewart. They're at the point where when they try to appear as if they're still virile young people, they sort of sound drunk. But Holly Hunter sounds like that, and she's been drinking wine the whole day. Like just a straight up old woman lush the entire time. And I saw one of the comments on Reddit, because of course Reddit's a cesspool of weird queer people. And there was a comment on the trailer like, oh my God, look how assertive she is. She's going to be awesome. I'm like, are we watching the same thing? The entire trailer where she tries to act assertive, it just makes her look like she belongs in a nursing home. Like nothing about it is assertive. None about it is powerful. But dude, some of these weirdos, like they're going to pull their own conclusion from this because they don't want to be wrong. But this show, like they said it's guaranteed 2 seasons. I actually think that it's possible that season 2 doesn't happen. Even though it's already been signed off on, even though it's effectively, it's going to definitely 100% happen whether Kurtzman is there or not. I think it's entirely possible that, what's the guy's name? The owner of Paramount now?
Ellison.
David Ellison.
I think David Ellison might Zaslav that second season and take a tax write-off, dude. I think season 1 is going to be so bad that even though season 2 is effectively in the can already and Kurtzman has done everything to guarantee its release, I think it's so bad that David is going to pull a Zaslav and tax write-off that sucker.
Well, I want to throw this to John because, John, a lot of people took a look at this promotional picture and instantly called this, instead of Starfleet Academy, Starfleet Glee. And it's hard to argue with that take on things. What's your take on Starfleet Academy and this promotional campaign that they seem to be botching?
I mean, it's complete shite. I mean, I saw the image that they put up, and all I kept smiling about is I just imagined a Genesis torpedo dropping through the sky, about to wipe them all out as they're looking up. It's that bad. It's, as I was watching Star Trek 4 in the week, I always thought to myself, I'm so glad that we've got a future of Starfleet Academy with all of this nonsense in it. It is terrible. You already know what you're going to get. I kind of mirror what Brian said. This is just Discovery under a different name, but it's going to be more about finding ourselves and, you know, oh, we're diverse. That comes first, as opposed to just, you know, saving the universe. It's got Kurtzman's nonsense written all over it. And if I was Ellison, yeah, I agree with Brian. I think they should just be like getting this, dumping it in one weekend, getting it out there, getting rid of it, and just moving forward, leaving it for a few years.
They can doom scroll a bunch of subscribers into coming on, make some quick money, and then dump it for tax reasons. Disney's done it with Willow. Zaslav's done it with multiple properties. The most famous of me is Westworld, where he just literally dumped it. He killed most of the backwards catalogs, so they couldn't sell digitally. Sold the digital rights to Amazon, and then wrote the rest off on taxes. I mean, look, there's a lot of creative ways to make your money on a show. And one way is to inflate your numbers. Say, oh, season 2 costs us just as much as season 1. Like, let's say season 1 costs $25 million. Well, season 2 is not going to cost $25 million because most of the establishing shots, the graphics, CGI, sets, all the stuff that make it cost a lot of money are already there. So so there's some added costs, obviously, for shooting a second season, but a lot of the upfront costs have already been handled by season 1, right? So you can still justify that, though, with the IRS and say, well, yeah, season 1 cost $25 million, so of course season 2 also costs $25 million, wink, wink. And what they do is they write a bunch of invoices from the company they own to a company they own to a company they own, and they can make it look like all this costs way more than it did, and then can that after getting some subs and write off the entire $25 million. They can make money with some creative, believable accounting.
Can I ask, guys, with regards to these productions, and and Ellison coming in and buying Paramount, contractually, do they still have to put it out if they've signed that deal, or do they have like an exit clause where they have to pay more money and basically say, we're not putting this out, this is going to damage the brand even further? Because I would think that someone would be looking at that, or advising the higher ups of Ellison and Co, and basically going, look, if we put this out, Star Trek is already in the toilet as it is. This is going to push it even further down into the toilet. Can they do that? Can they literally just permanently shelve it, or are they contractually obligated to put it out?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's contracts, and there might be some like golden parachutes in there where like, oh, we can't fire Nogo or Kurtzman or whatever because they have this this contract where we have to give them money if they leave. But really, you got to remember, Paramount is not just Star Trek. There's a lot of different TV shows, showrunners, projects, movies, a lot going on over there. I doubt Ellison is even being filled in on Star Trek because Star Trek is not their main priority. There's a lot of things at Paramount. And some of the things at Paramount are actually successful. There's some TV shows that are very profitable. Listen, Survivor, to this day, makes them insane amounts of money. Even with their loss of viewership, with their weird changes from 40 days to 20 days, and some of their location changes, and when they tried to be inclusive and go, 75% of our cast is going to be black queer people. You're like, what, dude? Look, even with those changes, Survivor is a mainstay. There are people that are going to watch Survivor, even if it's just Jeff Probst in his 90s throwing coconuts in a basket. They will always watch it, which means Survivor will always be profitable for Paramount regardless. And there's a lot of stuff on Paramount with that exact same pedigree, like the NCIS stuff. All the NCIS TV shows and spin-offs and highly, extremely profitable. Not just on Paramount streaming service, but also on CBS, on terrestrial TV, and even in VOD after the fact. People buy those boxes as a huge fan base for NCIS. We don't recognize it because we don't watch that crap. Most of us don't. But there are more people that like NCIS, than like Star Trek right now, which is pretty wild. Which means that David Ellison is not really concerning himself with Star Trek because Star Trek is the least of their concerns. It's not very profitable. They're going to restructure it at some point. They'll put a press release out and talk about some movies, whatever. But they're not really focusing on that. They're focusing on the other 80% of their catalog that's doing fantastic.
Odin, do you have anything to add?
Not particularly.
You're not the Star Trek nerd. The rest of us
I am not the
are.
Star Trek nerd. I'm trying to build my creds there. Again, I've watched all of DS9, but next summer probably will be the next time I have a chance to actually start to continue my trek through the original Trek and then eventually into next gen.
Have you guys seen that meme? It's AI art where all the captains from the good era of Star Trek are like having coffee out in a corridor while all the Kurtzman era characters are in an airlock and they're screaming to get out before they're spaced.
That's great.
It's great. It's fantastic. Like it goes all the way from Kirk to Archer, and they're all sitting there having a good time. And Janeway is about to hit the button to space all the all the
awesome.
Kurtzman people.
They needed Android Picard in there as well, though, just to finish it off. That one as well, just to get him gone as well. It's terrible.
Yeah, totally.
It's crazy. A lot of people don't realize how successful some of the Paramount stuff has been, dude. The Dexter stuff, the prequel and the newest series, super successful. The show DMV has been really successful. People really love that. They have a running series called Neighborhood that I've never seen a day of, but apparently has a massive fan base and gets and continually tops Nielsen's charts. They actually have a lot of franchises and IPs on here that are active in development, making TV shows, new seasons, new movies that are very, very successful. So Star Trek, I don't think Ellison's worried about Star Trek. I don't think he bought Paramount and been like, I need to fix Star Trek. I don't even think he cares about Star Trek. I think that's like a side quest for them right now.
I'm worried about Star Trek.
Yeah, we are, because we like it. We're not watching Neighborhood or whatever the hell, it's the prequel to Frasier and the sequel to Frasier and the whatever. We're not watching any of that stuff, but they have like Big Brother, Amazing Race, Survivor. They have all these reality shows that cost pennies to produce that make millions and millions of dollars, both on terrestrial, streaming, and in OTT. So they're making plenty of money, dude. They're fine.
Well, who else is making plenty of money is Netflix, and they're willing to pay a bunch of it to take over Warner Brothers. So we're going to talk about our top story of the day. This all broke, I believe, on Thursday. As you know, if you're a longtime watcher of Salty Saturdays, you know that we've been kind of covering the build up to this, where basically the Ellisons and Paramount made the first overture to try to, buy out Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers told them to go pound sand, but then Comcast and Netflix kind of got into the bidding war. And a lot of the industry experts, including a lot of people on this channel, Tom Connors Jr., said that it was very, very unlikely that Netflix was actually going to be a serious bidder for Warner Brothers. And turns out that they were a lot more serious than a lot of people thought that they were.
Yeah, they weren't playing.
Yeah, that they weren't playing because they basically announced that Netflix, in a $82 billion deal, just to give you some context, when Disney bought Fox, I think they spent $70 billion and somewhere in that range. So this is even more than that, but it's also, partially like stock and all this other stuff.
But it's mostly cash. It's mostly cash. Plus you have a 30% cash bonus. Sorry to cut you off.
I don't know if it's a bonus, but they basically said if this deal doesn't go through, we'll pay $5 billion or something along those lines. So, which is kind of like a surety bond, I guess you'd call it.
Pretty much a guarantee then.
Yeah, pretty much a guarantee that Netflix is committed to this. Now, I'm sure that there are things in there where it's like, if the government doesn't approve this, we're not on the hook for $5 billion or something like that. But it's basically like, if we back out, we have to pay you $5 billion. But what's crazy about this? So Warner Brothers, one of the most storied, like old school, like film studios in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's legendary. I think it's the last of the big three, right?
Yeah. One of the last original movie studios, Looney Tunes, DC Comics, Harry Potter, HBO. Like it's got these like really big IPs and really big kind of like, TV stations and all this other stuff. And the streaming upstart, who famously was called the Albanian Army by a former head of Warner Brothers, because they're like, what's the Albanian Army going to do? Are they going to storm the castle? Basically writing them off. But now the Albanian Army has come knocking on the door and is about ready to rape and pillage this whole thing.
I love how Netflix did the same thing with Blockbuster. Told them, you're not worth the $3 million that they asked for to acquire their streaming service. And then they just took over and put Blockbuster out of business. And then the movie studios said Netflix is not a real studio. And now Netflix is starting to eat up all the movie studios. I just love it. That's like, I love it.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? So we're going to be spending the next hour or so kind of like covering all the various ins and outs of what this could mean for the industry, but also for the consumer, because there are a lot of ramifications here. And I think there's also a lot of lies being told, kind of like, be like, oh, everything's fine, don't worry guys, as like the building's burning down around us. But the long story short, Netflix basically, they hooked up with the Warner Brothers board of directors, wined and dined them, partied with them, did all this stuff, offered them a lot of money, and Warner Brothers was kind of like, okay, yeah, we'll put out for you. And in the meantime, Paramount's there, and they arguably had a better deal on the table than Netflix did. And they're like, yo, dude, what the fuck? Right? It's like, like they felt they were unfairly treated. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. But here's the thing, right? So Netflix is famously, they're like, we're a streaming service. We don't care about theatrical, right? So the big question here is Warner Brothers has all these contracts, I think, going into either 2028 or 2029 in terms of like theatrical releases. And Netflix is like, oh yeah, don't worry. Like, we're going to make sure that all those movies get like the proper theatrical releases. Tom Cruise also has a first look deal with Warner Brothers. So like and he's a big like theater advocate. So like he wants like, to keep theaters going and stuff like that. He's pissed about this merger. And he's not being shy about expressing that. But in addition to all that, like Netflix, famously, that like they believe that the future of entertainment isn't theatrical; it is home. It's home-based, home theaters, home streaming, all that stuff. So when they come out and they say like, "Hey guys, we're going to keep Warner Brothers as a separate entity. It's going to operate just as it always has. It's going to be putting out theatrical releases. HBO Max is going to remain its own independent entity, all this other stuff." Everyone's looking at these statements and being like, I smell some bullshit on the table, because, even if the CEOs of Netflix currently believe what they're saying, if there's ever leadership change and like new executives come in, they could easily just like reverse like that strategy. And also
easily.
Easily. And so like basically, I think that if this merger does go through, Netflix will control upwards of like 45% of the streaming market. Because
that's my biggest concern is not the buyout, but that the number one streaming service just bought the number 3 or is buying the number 3 streaming service. That's a problem.
Yeah. So like if they do merge that type of thing, or even if they like pull like a Disney and keep like Hulu kind of independent or like whatever, it's still one of those things where like they could decide to raise prices instead of like $20 a month. They could be like, oh, $100 a month, and people wouldn't have a choice, right? Like, where are they going to go? But also like folding in a lot of the Netflix, or I should say the Warner Brothers IPs into Netflix. So they're going to get all the DC Comics stuff. There's a lot of talk about like, what does this mean for Safran and James Gunn? in terms of like Netflix coming in and now like controlling things. I know that Safran and Gunn just like renewed their contracts for like the next 2 years with Warner Brothers, and honestly, it's probably going to take 2 to 3 years before like this deal actually like gets approved. So nothing's going to happen in the meantime on that front. But at the same time, this is one of those things where it's a radical disruption of the entertainment industry, because this is Netflix has a very different business model than the traditional studios do. And we can kind of see the writing on the wall with this, where Paramount, they were like, hey, like we want to like we're a movie studio, we just want more movie studio stuff. Whereas Netflix is like, hey, we're a streaming service and we want to cannibalize the movie studio system for our benefit. And one of the things that I'm curious about with all this is the fact that Warner Brothers has a plan to split into 2 companies, right? They have the movie company, and then they have like the TV company, right?
Discovery.
Yeah, but it's not just Discovery. It's like all their cable channels and like a bunch of other stuff that haven't been performing well because cable TV is slowly dying.
That's also where they're going to dump a lot of their debt.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that with Paramount's offer, they were like, hey, we'll buy everything, right? Like all your debt, all your cable channels, all this other stuff. But from what I'm hearing, and this hasn't been in any particular article about the Netflix purchase, is that Netflix isn't getting the TV stations because they're not like interested in the TV network stuff. So like this deal is actually for like the movie end of things and stuff like that. And the spinoff company that Warner Brothers is going to be creating, it's kind of like with the Fox deal with Disney, where basically they spun off the news division of Fox, and it went off, and it's still an independent entity, but like the Fox Studio stuff was incorporated by Disney. It sounds like that's very similar to what's happening here at Netflix.
Right.
And that's not being really talked about a whole lot. So it's kind of like a little.
It's in the press release though. They talked about it.
Yeah, but it's not really being highlighted by like all of the other coverage on this stuff.
Discovery Media will be its own company. There'll be a ticket, a stock ticket and all that. It'll be a company worth like $4 a share when it comes out.
Discovery Global, I think, is the name that they're thinking.
Yeah, Global, yeah.
And also, Brian, like apparently stockholders in Warner Brothers will be getting some like Netflix stock once the deal goes through and stuff like that.
0.45 or whatever is at a certain point in the stock. Yeah, I'm a shareholder, so while I would definitely rather Warner not be sold, like for me financially in 18 months or however long this takes, it is only good for me. Like I basically I've locked in my profit if they sell.
Yeah. So what I want to do right now is kind of get into the various aspects of what this sale means, what like side effects it's having in the industry and stuff like that. But before we dive deep into that, I want to go around the panel and get everyone's kind of take on this. Now, John, you're outside of the American system. So I don't know how you feel about this, but I know Netflix has a very big overseas presence. A lot of their stuff is like worldwide. That's why they have like 300 million subscribers or something like that. So I wanted to get your take on this. Are you excited about this, or do you think that it's worrisome?
It's worrisome. I'm against it. I just think it's going to end up with, well, cinemas, they're headed there anyway, but it's going to end up with them theaters being niche entertainment events to go to. I also think that, Netflix aren't well known for their physical media releases as well. And I like my physical media. That's going to disappear. And again, I'm a DC Comics fan. I don't like the idea of Netflix having control of DC Comics. I don't like them having those characters. I mean, you've only got to give the example of The Witcher. Just give you an example of what they do with good IPs, really. So there's that, but I also think I don't like them almost being at the same level as a Disney, and like you brought up Fox a few minutes ago, Fox is there as a label on there as part of the company. But how much of Fox stuff is really coming out now? I mean, it's been shuttered pretty much, isn't it? And again, I don't like the idea of Warner Brothers, something that I grew up with as a kid. There was Warner Brothers, Paramount. I loved them. Suddenly being swallowed up by Netflix and just being Warner Bros. A Netflix company, and that's it. So, and there's people in the UK, friends of mine, who aren't even into all this sort of news, but they've already said to me, oh, I don't like the idea of that, because they think straight away, well, I've got Netflix. They're going to put my prices up. And, I'm not going to have any say in it. If I want to watch that stuff, I have to pay those prices. So that's where we are over here. It's probably, I'm interested to hear what you guys think on it as well, whether you're similar to me.
Well, hold on, Brian. I'm
sorry,
going to get to you in a second, but first I want to throw this to Odin. Odin, what's your overall take on Netflix winning the bid to buy out Warner Brothers and how that's going to affect Hollywood and the industry going forward?
I'm a bit mixed on it, to be honest, because when Hollywood's angry at something, it means I'm happy because Hollywood's terrible. I mean, it's just I'm going to take joy in that, because if it means that their little bubble is about to be bursted or that they're going to have to start making some changes, I think that's a good thing, because I think that they've been needing to make changes for a very long time now. So I'm happy in that way. Obviously, I've got the same kind of concerns about, the monopolization of certain, industries, right? And the one thing I would, slightly counter to the mention of like total subscribers and like taking on HBO Max as, as their own, is that if you actually look at every other streamer, the fact is that no streamer has gotten anywhere close to what Netflix has done. So there really is no competition already, because it's like so far from where they are. The only other company that gets even quote unquote close is Amazon. And I think the estimates are that Amazon has like 200 million people versus the 300 plus million on Netflix. But
and Odin, how many of those people are?
The problem is they're just Amazon Prime subscribers who automatically get it, and does not mean that they're actually using it. Exactly.
They're not using the streaming service.
Exactly.
They just want that free shipping, bro.
Exactly. But it's a great number to say, oh, we have 200 billion subscribers. It's like, yes, because they want free shipping. That's what most of them are on there for.
Yeah, Amazon's a big old asterisk in the streaming service.
Yes, absolutely. And so again, for me, that's why I'm kind of mixed on it. Happy Hollywood is upset. I think that Netflix has proven to know what they're doing in the streaming game. And again, only time can tell whether or not Warner Brothers will be saved, restored, will be destroyed, or kept status quo. We won't know until the deal actually goes through, until some years have gone by as well. So yeah, right now it's a bit of a mixed reaction for me. There's some good things, and there's probably some things that are troubling.
Okay, Brian, broad strokes, what's your take on the overall implications of Netflix buying Warner Brothers?
I think people are acting very reactionary to this. First off, physical media was already declining before Netflix put an offer in to buy Warner Brothers, right? Theaters have been declining for years. We've been talking about it for years, before Netflix decided that they wanted to buy Warner Brothers. Hollywood has been burning down way before Netflix decided to buy Warner Brothers. I don't know why people are now all of a sudden, attributing this sale to the start of Hollywood burning down, the decline of physical media, the decline of theaters. No, it's already been happening. It's been happening regardless of Netflix, in spite of Netflix. Also, you got to remember, Netflix is not a studio in the same way Paramount and Warner Brothers are, where the leadership of the studio is the reason some shows and movies and properties are successful. It's more like Amazon, where they put a lot of the creativity and the decisions on the creators, the people running those projects. Stranger Things is very successful because they got out of the way. Squid Game, they bought it, they got out of the way. The Crown, Black Mirror, Ozark, Narcos. There's a lot of success stories at Netflix, and has nothing to do with Netflix's decisions on the content, and everything to do with the fact they let the creators do what they want. The reason The Witcher failed was because the people that were creating it decided to do bad things with the property, and it failed. Had nothing to do with the Netflix leadership, and everything to do with the individual creators that were making these shows. So they're a lot more like Amazon. I'm not simping for Netflix here. I would rather Warner Brothers not be sold. But the second Ellison just told everyone he wanted to buy Warner Brothers, it was inevitable that someone was going to buy it. So you have options, right? You have Paramount Skydance, Universal, Netflix, Saudi Arabia. You have options. Guaranteed someone is going to buy Warner Brothers at some point. The second Ellison opened his mouth, he started this process down that road. So who would you rather have it? That's really the question. It's what's the worst of the five evils? I would argue Netflix is not the worst company that could have bought Warner Brothers. I would even argue I don't think Skydance Paramount was a better choice than Netflix, because it's a classic studio. There is a chance that Netflix allows Warner Brothers to stay autonomous and run its own thing. They've done that in the past with other things that didn't work out, but they have. It's entirely possible Warner Brothers continues to be its own studio under the Netflix balance sheet. And that's the best case scenario. It's a lot better than Saudi Arabia getting it. It's a lot better than Skydance getting it and all their weird. There's a lot of weird, questionable things going on at Skydance right now. So here's the question. Everyone's mad about Netflix buying it. But does everyone realize that Netflix was someone was going to buy it no matter what? Does everyone realize that the second you offered $90 billion, Warner Brothers had no choice but to say yes? They have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders. They can't say no to that sale. They can't. I mean, it'll just turn hostile anyways. They have a duty they have to legally accept an offer that is that high. They have to legally accept an offer that is 38% above market value. They have no choice. So what's the best case scenario? It's 100% going to be sold to someone. I would argue the worst case scenario would be Saudi Arabia buying it. Right? Maybe the best case scenario would be like Universal buying it. But Universal doesn't have the scratch. They're also talking about selling things. They don't have the scratch to buy Warner Brothers. They can't gobble up someone that's even bigger than they are. So really, that wasn't ever on the table. So what's on the table? Skydance, Netflix, Amazon, Saudi Arabia. Those are the options. Like, is Netflix the worst of those options? No, it's not. It's objectively not the worst case. So people are acting as if Netflix started this whole process. This is going to decline in physical media. That was all happening before Netflix got here, right? Because Hollywood made bad decisions, right? And now here we are. So Netflix buying, this is my quick final take. Netflix buying Warner Brothers is not the worst case scenario. Warner Brothers was going to sell no matter what. And Netflix, well, it has some things. It definitely has produced stinkers, and it has made bad decisions. They've also made good decisions. My only problem with Netflix is their lack of theatrical priority and their lack of physical media priority. But again, physical media was already on its way out. Warner Brothers was like the last bastion of physical media. And someone was going to buy it anyways. And the second they bought it, no matter who it was, physical media was going to decline the same way. So it's not Netflix's fault. And Warner Brothers had to accept the purchase.
Well, I do want to mention that the Saudi Wealth Fund, which is kind of like their all-purpose, unending piggy bank for Saudi Arabia, that was actually going to be part of David Ellison's kind of bid, where like they were going to be splitting the cost with the Saudi Wealth Fund as investors. I think that was one of the things that turned the board of Warner Brothers like sour about Paramount's bid in particular. There's obviously that. But one of the things I wanted to kind of highlight in this discussion is that so Netflix has historically been kind of like, I don't really care about movie theaters, right? They own the Egyptian Theater in Los Angeles. And the reason that they bought their own theater was so that they could give, their original movies a theatrical release, because they need to do that in order to compete for award season. There's been a big push recently from the industry itself to say like, hey, in order for any movie to be considered for any type of award, we have to basically ban streaming. Like the movies have to have been in theaters in order for it to actually be considered a real movie that's worthy of award consideration. And it's kind of like created a big controversy in the entertainment industry, because there's a lot of actors and people who get work, on streaming originals and stuff like that never see a day in theatrical release. And they're like, hey, why should we be, left out of consideration? Like, we're still putting all of our hard work and effort into making these things as good as possible. But it's a broader industry thing to try to protect theaters, and theater owners by and large are very worried about this sale. And the big thing is that Netflix has basically said that I believe it was Ted Sarandos, who's the major like co-CEO of Netflix, where he basically came out and said consumers don't want to go to the movies anymore. They want to stay at home. They want that home theater experience, and we have to evolve to give people what it is they want, which is stuff that's outside of the movie theater. But with the purchase of WB, what they've come out and said that the windows from theatrical to streaming or theatrical to home video need to be more what they call consumer friendly, which basically means shorter, right? Because like it used to be that you'd have to wait upwards of 6 months from a movie leaving theaters to coming to home video. And so like that really gave people an incentive to go to the movie theater to like see these movies. After COVID, right? Like they were doing day and date releases and stuff like that. And now they've kind of settled on like, I believe it's like a 3 to 4 week window, right? That most studios are
about 45 days, I think, is the average.
Okay. Yeah. So 45 days. Now Netflix is like, no. We need to shorten that to either 2 weeks or 1 week. So the exclusivity window of theatrical, Netflix wants to shrink because they want to get the stuff on their streaming service as quick as possible. They want to, what they call, give consumers what they want as quick as possible. So I want to ask you, Odin, do you think that consumers actually want movies at their houses quicker? And how would this shortened window philosophy of Netflix affect the theater industry and the movie industry at large?
Well, we're already seeing the impacts of it, right? Because the day and date release model, well, again, it's a bit of a mixed bag even with that, but I'll just say that when it comes to Netflix itself, Netflix has been the driving force, right? Because it is the largest streamer. It has been disrupting the industry for a very long time. And I agree with what Brian was mentioning earlier, right? About how the trends were already going in that direction of physical media going away and other things. This is before Netflix became as major of a player as it already is. And that's just because everything was moving much more to a digital space. And so that was already the natural progression of things. Netflix just sped up the process, right? And COVID obviously sped up that process too. That's the reason why we have a lot of half-baked streaming services now, because when COVID hit, that's when Disney and all the other companies were like, oh, we got to do so much now more with streaming to, one, catch up with Netflix, but also because we can't put anything out theatrically either. And so let's just go ahead and speed up everything. So with Netflix having access now to Warner Brothers and having these massive IPs, these massive movies, they are going to be then having a very, similar situation where they now are going to have an impact directly on the industry itself. We've been talking about this, throughout the year. Warner Brothers is on paper the most successful studio of the year, right? They're the only major studio that's actually profitable, really, in any realistic way. Disney was $1 billion in the red. Obviously, the Zootopia box office is going to cut into that quite a bit. Avatar is going to cut even more so into that deficit, but we're still talking about $1 billion in the red. All the other studios are underwater for the year. Warner Brothers was the only one that was actually producing enough to get a small amount of profit, but still profit nonetheless, right? For all of the film releases that they have had. So if you now have that studio, which is one of the more successful stories, now going to be primarily on streaming because of the Netflix deal, right? Obviously, it's going to take a while before this actually ends up, coming to fruition. It absolutely will have an impact on the theatrical industry. It's going to hurt theaters more so than anybody else. And so obviously my heart's always with theaters. And so in that way, I think that's a bad thing. And then physical media, because they're much more focused on getting you on their streaming service, that is also going to likely suffer. Now, if Netflix were to make some changes and were to say, you know what, we're going to get into the physical media game, I would be much more supportive, right, of of their whole business model, because I'm all for physical media. As far as the initial question, though, about consumers, the sad thing is most people absolutely want things easier, want things faster, want things more immediately. So I do think that they are likely correct to say, hey, we're going to try to have a pro-consumer market. But by being pro-consumer, they are doing a couple of things. They're, one, now hurting, the industry, right? Hurting specifically the theaters, right? I could care less about Hollywood, but the theaters specifically, they're going to be hurting. I do have an issue with that. But also, they're going to now be perpetuating the bigger issue that we don't think about or talk about as much, which is the training of the mind and the brain to expect to get things immediately. The instant gratification mindset that we've gone into because of Google and because of smartphones and everything else, it's just going to continue to further that along. And obviously, long run, long term, I don't think that's a good thing. That being said, if we're talking about the happiness of consumers will be happy.
You know that meme? You know that meme of the guy riding his bike, and then he takes the stick and he puts it in the front wheel, and he falls and he blames someone else? That's Hollywood. Like, they trained the audience to stop going to the theater over a decade. And now they're like, oh no, sales declining. What do you expect? What do you expect? And theaters aren't helping. I went to the movie. I go to the movies all the time. This week I went to the movies with my kids. The movie started at, I think it was like 5:30 at night. The movie didn't actually start until 6:15, 45 minutes of commercials before I can watch the movie. I spent, and this is with memberships, almost $150 for 4 people to watch one movie. After snacks and all that. Everything is really overpriced. And I understand, and while I love the theater, I can totally understand younger people being like, yeah, I'm just going to wait 3 weeks for it to come out on whatever
lack of incentive
service
to go. Yeah.
Like, what is the incentive? I'm going to go to support theaters. So theaters that have never supported you, that have always fleeced you for every penny they can possibly pull out of you, that forced you to watch almost 45 minutes worth of commercials before you can even get to the movie you paid to watch. I mean, theaters aren't, I love theaters and I love the theatrical experience, but most of that is based on my past. The current theatrical experience sort of sucks.
I think I was just to add to that as well. I think certainly here in the UK, I don't know what it's like for you guys over there, but with kids in the UK, I mean, I've found friends with their kids. When I go around and see them, the way they view media is completely different to how I viewed media growing up as a kid, because they will watch Netflix on their mobile phone. You know, I was always going to the cinema because I wanted to see the cinema experience. I wanted to see it on the big screen, the sound, the visuals, all of that. They're not interested in any of that. All they're doing is going, I'm going to lie on the sofa with the mobile phone, watching Netflix or another app. That's it. And again, as you were saying earlier, Matt, you know, if they're talking about potentially shortening that window, and following on from Brian, I agree. There is no incentive to go to the cinema, because they'll be like, well, hang on a minute. And this is parents as well. They'll go, well, hang on a minute. I've got a Netflix subscription that I pay monthly.
Right. That's
going to be out on Netflix in 2 to 3 weeks, as you were saying, Brian. Why am I going to pay, you know, this amount for a ticket for me, my wife and my kids, when I can just wait that time and watch it anyway at home?
You're totally right, but this is not, Netflix didn't do this, you guys. Sony started this 3-week window nonsense. So one of the big studios started this 3-week window nonsense, and other studios are following along. This is literally the meme of the guys putting the stick into his bicycle and then blaming streaming services or COVID or whatever. Like the studios did this to themselves, and the theaters didn't help.
Guys, real quick. So there are some unintended ramifications that are going on here, but I don't know if our chat knows this or not, but Warner Brothers has been bought and sold probably more than any other major Hollywood studio out there. You know, it started with the Time Warner deal, the AOL deal, then it went to AT&T, and then Discovery, and now Netflix. And what's interesting is that basically these guys came out, the co-CEOs, and said, hey, this is no AOL Time Warner fiasco, because all the companies that bought Warner Brothers previously weren't in the movie business. But because Netflix is, they think that they're going to know how to run Warner Brothers better than any of the other purchasers in the past. Now, yeah, I can see like why that is the mentality.
Yeah, I see the logic.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? So like this purchase has such ripple effects throughout the entire industry that even if Netflix thinks that they know how to run things, there's all types of pushback that's coming their way. And a big part of that is government involvement. Okay. Now, in order for this merger to go through, it has to be approved by the FCC and a bunch of other government organizations. DOJ. Like there's antitrust and monopoly concerns, especially on the streaming front of things. But here's what's really interesting about this. So after this was announced, you had a bunch of anonymous A-listers and a bunch of Hollywood-based unions and stuff like that basically come out and say, hey, we need to stop this. And so these A-listers are now lobbying Congress against this this merger and acquisition thing, which is really interesting because you know politicians and celebrities kind of go hand in hand. Like every election season, you see celebrities come out and endorse people and stuff like that. So Hollywood is important to DC politicians. But the big thing here is like you have people now. They say anonymous A-listers, but I can guarantee you, Tom Cruise, James Cameron, Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, all these guys. Christopher Nolan, they were all part of this anonymous letter. I guarantee you, right? And so like I'm sure George Clooney
wasn't Tencent released day and day though. Like I don't get it. A lot like wasn't Tencent Nolan's movie released day and day release?
You mean Tenet?
Tenet. Sorry, I didn't watch the movie. Yeah, his last big movie wasn't it released same day?
So that was. I believe that was during COVID, and Warner Brothers did that without, and that's why he doesn't work with Warner Brothers anymore. Okay, because they kind of like did that without his permission.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of hypocrisy going on. I noticed some anonymous actors because they want to continue working. I mean, that's Hollywood they're so cucked, dude. It's just a bunch of cowards.
It's true, but the idea here is that there are roadblocks to this thing happening, and a lot of very powerful and influential people in Hollywood are trying to get these roadblocks in front of this and tank this deal. This is not a popular thing, right? And one of the interesting parts about all this is that the Ellisons are very tight with the Trump administration, right? Yeah. And a lot of people don't know this, but like the Obamas have like a 9% stake in Netflix, right? So there are some like inherent things like Valerie Jarrett, who was Obama's like chief of staff, and I think that she was like she had some other high-ranking government position. She's on the board of directors of Netflix. If you wonder why you get a Black Cleopatra and like all this other stuff, it's because of Valerie Jarrett and the Obamas, right? So think about this for a second. Netflix is going to own CNN, right? They're going to have their own news network. So they can rewrite history. They can like change the news narrative. They can do all this stuff. And the Obamas are at the core of it, right? So it's actually very counterproductive for an administration like Trump has, to allow this thing to go through, because it's just giving more power to the deep state and like all these other enemies of the current administration.
But Matt, how different is that than the current people that own CNN?
Well, what's interesting about this is that, so when Ellison got Paramount, right, one of the first things that he did was he revamped the CBS news organization, right? He brought in Barry Weiss, and they're trying to make it a little bit more moderate than very anti-Trump. So I think that, Brian, to answer your question, first of all, nobody really watches CNN all that much anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's the good answer, right?
But if you incorporate CNN, instead of like having their own stupid app that nobody wants to pay for or watch, if you incorporate it into Netflix, right, all of a sudden you have a greater reach. You can have stuff that basically, like if your only streaming service that you're paying for is Netflix, all of a sudden that's the only type of news you're getting exposed to. So there are far-reaching implications to that. But the big thing here is basically like Netflix's tendency, and it's become a joke, right? Where it's like, yeah, like they're either black or gay or, lesbians or like whatever the case. Like literally like rewriting history to make it more diverse and like all this other stuff.
Right.
And so like the question then becomes, it's like, okay, yeah, like there's that stuff at the WB with like the Harry Potter TV show and all this other stuff, but
That's not, bro.
It's
not
like
just.
Hold on. It's like,
Yeah.
when do we get a black Superman? When do we get a gay Batman? When do we get like all this stuff that
They were literally before Zaslav, they were literally greenlighting a black Superman and a gay Batman.
yeah, and now it can go back to that. One of the first things that Ellisons did when they acquired Paramount was they got rid of all the DEI stuff, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a bit. But the point I'm trying to make here is that there are clear lines in the sand being drawn in Hollywood right now, where there's the people who are for this deal, and then there are people who are against this deal. And a lot of those people who are against this are now rallying the troops in Washington. Like, I haven't heard anyone in Washington come out and be like, hey, I like this, right? From both sides. Like a lot of Democrats rely on celebrity endorsements. So if those celebrities are against it, they're against it, right? A lot of Republicans don't like this because like it's another bullet in the gun that the radical left has that they're holding to their head. So like there's going to be a lot of pushback on this. But Brian, give me your take on whether or not you think the government's actually going to approve this merger.
I mean, they're probably going to approve it. There's a chance they don't. There's a chance that Trump makes a call to his people at the FCC and the DOJ, and he goes, "This is anti-American. Don't do it." But I don't think that will happen. I just don't. You know, someone in the chat said, Brian's got Netflix knee pads. No, man, I'm just realistic. Okay, just like I don't think the government's going to stop this sale. Because they haven't done it before. The government haven't been stopping monopolies and oligopolies for a long time now. Like, it's got to be so blatant for the government to stop it. And that's not just the Trump administration. This is every administration in the last like 20 years. Like, unless it's a blatant antitrust, they pretty much just sort of get out of the way because there's a ton of backroom deals going on, even in the government. Oh, surprise, surprise. Politicians are corrupt, right? Well, here's another thing. I think people are being really reactionary about this. Someone mentioned, what about Netflix cuties? Guys, Universal made Bros. Amazon made Bottoms, Rings of Power, Disney, Black Ariel, Wicked, Paramount, Star Trek. I mean, dude, Paramount literally goes, Survivor, you need to have 75% gay black people on your show or we won't fund it. You think that Netflix is the only people making this garbage woke crap? It's literally every studio. Every single studio. Name one studio name one major studio not making a bunch of gay, DEI, trans propaganda. Name one. I can't name one.
But with kids, though, that's the thing I think that make Cuties different, because Cuties actually surpassed even like our own community. It went past that to a lot of other people.
I get what you're saying.
The fact the kids were involved. Yeah.
But okay, Bottoms.
Yeah, I don't know Bottoms. So yeah.
Bottoms is teenagers.
Okay.
And they're all queer and gay for each other. So guys, I'm saying I'm not defending the DEI woke crap. I'm all against it. You know me by now. That's all I do is complain about it nonstop every week for years. But Netflix is not the only people doing this stuff. They're just not. It's crazy.
You just described Star Trek Academy, actually.
Yeah, we just talked about Star Trek Academy. We just talked about it, dude. Like, look, guys, like, I get it, but everyone's acting like this is, I literally see posts on Reddit. This is the end of Hollywood forever. The worst day in cinema history. What the fuck are you talking about? This is not the worst day. Like, this is so reactionary. People's responses to this is so ridiculous. There's people praising it thinking, restore the Snyderverse. They're insane. That's not happening. There's other people that are talking about how this is the worst day in history. What the fuck are you talking about? Okay? That is objectively insane. This is not the worst thing that could have happened. There are much worse things that could have happened. It's not Netflix's fault it happened. I'm not for any of the DEI woke stuff or cuties or whatever, but I'm also not for changing characters in any studio, changing characters that were one race into another race just because it's black, making every character gay like they do in Star Trek. The ship was gay. Come on, guys. What the fuck? Look, this is not the worst moment in cinema history. This is not the worst thing that could have happened. People are being very weirdly reactionary about this in every way, and they're acting insane. We need to wait to see how this plays out. The only thing that I see that is pretty much a guaranteed negative from this is that physical media will decline faster than it already is. So guess what, guys? Go get your steelbooks now, because in 3 years, they're going to be worth about 5 times more than they are currently worth. All I'm saying is if the Trump administration, I think the Trump administration will approve it. There's a chance it won't, but for the last 20 years, no matter what administration's in place, they pretty much approved every oligopoly that's ever happened, whether it's good for the consumer or not. So I doubt it'll be blocked. I think it's copium for people to say it's going to be blocked. And you know what? If you are complaining about Hollywood making gay, black, pedophilic, grooming, trans, DEI, woke content, the same people that are making that content are currently lobbying the government to stop the sale. Right?
All right. So,
the fuck? So what? What are we doing here? They're the same people are mad about this sale are the same people that are pushing the hyper woke, hyper trans, super pedophilic grooming crap we've been talking about for 10 years.
So,
what side are you on?
Odin, to Brian's point, yes, it's true that the government isn't good at slapping down these mergers and acquisitions that could cause monopolies. But I think in this case, it's not so much that Warner Brothers is being sold, it's being sold to, especially when you have a different suitor in the game that is very tight with the current administration and who they'd rather see acquire this thing. So the question then becomes, it's okay, does the government slap down Netflix in favor of Paramount and the Ellisons for this merger to go through? And the big kind of thing that these Hollywood A-listers and stuff are bringing up is, and we touched on this earlier, the fact that on the streaming front, there's very legitimate antitrust and monopoly concerns when it comes to Netflix acquiring HBO Max. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you bring up a very good point about the whole Ellison-Trump dynamic, because if we know anything about a certain man named Trump, he takes things personally, and he is more than willing to go to bat for his friends. And I would not be surprised. Basically, what do I think is likely going to happen? I think most likely scenario, Netflix gets it and everything goes through as it normally would, with some pushback. It might get delayed, right, because of things like that. I think that's the most likely scenario. However, I would say the next most likely scenario is that somehow at some point Trump gets on Truth Social and he makes one of his typical rants about saying, oh, the whole Netflix deal is so terrible. It's so terrible. My good friend, Mr. Ellison, he's making a great deal, everybody. And basically tries to pressure his administration, his FCC to poo-poo the deal so that way Ellison can come in or something. It would not surprise me for him to try to do something like that. That's just his personality. So I could totally see him, potentially making that decision on political grounds himself, and not because it's actually against, violating antitrust laws or anything like that. Most likely scenario, though, I think it goes through. I think that everything goes through as normal, but I think next likely scenario would be, Trump gets involved, because again, that's the kind of thing that Trump would very, likely do. And I will say, for people that are saying it's the worst thing to happen, I do think that if we're looking at it from a historical lens, and we know just how hurt not just Hollywood, but how the movie-going experience, how movies in general has dropped so precipitously, objectively speaking, since COVID. I think some people are looking at the writing on the wall and saying this kind of deal would, again, continue to push forward and speed up that same downfall that's already started and has already been going on for a while. So I can see why people would say this is a terrible decision and a terrible day, because of what they've seen happen before and how they don't want to see these trends that they already don't like get sped up.
Well, John, do you think the government could slap down this merger?
I agree with Odin. I think Trump will make some comments, but I think this is a done deal. It's going to go through. A question I got also is this going to go through essentially after Trump is out of office, with delays and pushbacks potentially? So
Yeah, I think they said like 2 to 3 years before like this thing is resolved or something like that.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
delays it could be, but if it goes around on time, 2 to 3 years, then he would still be in office technically. Yeah.
Yeah. I was also going to say I saw breaking last night. I don't know if it's accurate or not, and I'm not a specialist in this field. But did you see about supposedly Ellison is going to do a hostile bid?
Well,
have you seen that?
John, funny you should bring that up because that is our next topic, which is Paramount is pissed off about this announcement, and Ellison's are kind of like well known for like not taking no for an answer. And they actually, their attorneys released this letter that they had sent to Warner Brothers, basically saying that the bidding process was unfair because Netflix was getting preferential treatment, and for whatever reason, people didn't like the Ellisons and stuff like that. So they were like, our bid, which was arguably superior, was not properly evaluated by this, and basically a disservice was done to the shareholders of Warner Brothers because of favoritism on Netflix. And what has been breaking recently is that Paramount Skydance is reportedly now going for a hostile takeover of Warner Brothers by bypassing the board and going directly to shareholders. So Brian, Ellisons are going to be reaching out and being like, hey, instead of getting, $4 for Netflix stock, what if we paid you $80 for your Warner Brothers stock or something like that?
Yeah, take it in a heartbeat. Like I said before, I don't think there's much of difference between Skydance and Netflix. I think it's also funny though how hypocritical David Ellison is. It's crazy. So he's talking about backroom deals and all that when last week he was bragging about. He was literally bragging that he told that he was going to make David Zaslav co-CEO, and he was bragging that he was going to when Skydance purchases Warner Brothers, these people are going to have permanent positions, and they were making backroom deals. And now he's mad that Netflix might have made a backroom deal. Like, come on, you guys, it's so hypocritical. Look. I think it's literally, I don't think there's a big difference between Skydance owning it versus Netflix owning it. But I do think that David Ellison is being a whiny bitch right now. He is. And if you want Warner Brothers, Dave, pony up the cash. Because you can guarantee that you buy it by offering a deal that's higher than Netflix. Because guess what? Just like Warner Brothers has no option to sell this when they get these kind of offers, they would have no option to consider your offer if it was considerably higher than Netflix.
But here's the thing when it comes to the offers, Brian, is that it might have been a lower amount offer, but it was all cash, whereas the Netflix stuff is supplemented through stock and some other like assets. So the question
100%. Right. Yeah, plus, they're going to own more, but I'm sure there's someone out there doing the math on which is a better offer.
But also, the offer from Paramount includes all the debt and the TV stations as well, whereas the Netflix one doesn't. So they're basically willing to take on like all of the bad stuff in addition to the good stuff with all cash.
Well, I get what you're saying. We see Discovery Global as a negative, as a dumping ground for the debt. But think about this. What if they considered Discovery Global a savable business? The way, look, at one point, Warner Brothers was almost unsavable. It was almost sunk, right? What if they see it as something that is an asset versus a deficit? And so they see this deal as being better for them because they get almost $90 billion, and they can spin off Discovery Global and hopefully rinse and repeat this sales process. I don't know their thought process, but if David Ellison wants Warner Brothers, then give us more cash. By the way, David Ellison he can get the cash. Okay, they can get it. You know this, Matt. If they want to offer more, they can. So right now he's out there complaining because he wants his friends in the Trump administration to get involved and to save him money. This is all smoke and mirrors, whiny bullshit. If he wanted Warner Brothers, he can offer more, and he would get it.
And it's kind of funny, Odin, because before like the sale was announced, there was this story that broke that I just absolutely loved, where basically Ellisons were visiting Trump at the White House, and Trump was like, hey, do you guys have the Rush Hour franchise?
Yeah, that's right.
and they're like, yes, Mr. President, we do. He's like, you should really make another one of those. I really love. I love Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. They're so great to watch. I love them.
I love
them.
And so funny.
Yeah. And so like after that meeting, Paramount went out and was like, we're making a Rush Hour 4.
They greenlit Rush Hour 4.
Yeah. So like that's the type of pull like relationship that the Ellisons and Trump have, where Trump's like, hey, you remember that movie from like 20 years ago that was really funny? Can you make another one of those? And they're like, yes, Mr. President.
Right. Yeah, you did.
So like I could just see like David Ellison going back and be like, hey, in exchange for Rush Hour 4, could you like just destroy this Netflix deal for us? You know,
I could see that happen too.
Yeah, listen. Like, we're gonna give you whiny Rush Hour 4, 5, and 6, but we need you to make sure the FCC stops the sale.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
imagine Trump's like, okay, I can make that happen, no problem.
Honestly, what I think is going to happen is in the next few days, Trump is going to put out a Truth Social post about the hostile takeover, and is going to be saying, if you own this stock, you need to accept this deal, take this deal, because I think that's how he's going to try to go about it. Basically, he's going to support them in some public way. I honestly do believe.
I think he'll support Ellison, but I think Ellison will offer more money.
Yeah,
he'll make it so it has to be legal. And look, they have a fiduciary duty to the shareholders, whether they like Netflix more or not. I think that if Ellison offers more money, they have to, at the very least, consider it. And the second it becomes public, it's going to be.
Well, but Brian, like the way hostile takeovers work, it's not necessarily that they're making like a better offer again because the offer's already been accepted from Netflix. It's that they're going directly to every shareholder and being like, we will buy your stock from you for a premium, and we will become the majority owner of the company this way, as opposed to doing a merger and acquisition type thing.
Right.
So the thing I wanted to ask you is, how likely do you think it is that the Ellisons will be successful with this hostile takeover bid?
Again, it sounds like the deal with Netflix is a pretty solid ground deal, and so I don't know exactly how hostile takeovers work or the legal side of it, because that's just a little bit beyond me. So, basically, I don't think I don't think on the surface it'll be successful. That being said, if it is legal and if they are able to offer more money, I could totally see them being able to do something similar. I guess the real question is who owns the shares, because I imagine there's probably some shareholders that have a large portion that are probably not fans of Ellison, that will not sell, and so will not agree. And that might be, I guess, what puts a wrench in that attempt. I don't know exactly how much they would need, or what the whole what basically would be the result of their attempted takeover in that specific way. But as far as like what is likely to happen, what is the norm, I think in the most likely scenario, Netflix gets it.
Well, I know that. So in terms of Warner Brothers, the Netflix deal works out to about $27 per share, right? If you own Warner Brothers stock, Netflix is basically paying you $27 to, get your stock.
Right.
Now
and I bought it at $9, baby. What's up?
Exactly. So, but the Warner Brothers.
Hey, so David Ellison, offer some more, bro. I'm down.
Well, the Warner Brothers goal was $30 per share. That's really what they were like looking for,
right.
And
that's what Zaslav said. Yeah.
Yeah. Ellison was kind of balking at that. But if Ellison comes directly to someone like you, Brian, who owns shares in Warner Brothers, and it's like, hey, I'll pay you $35 for all your shares. Would you go 100%? For that?
100%.
So that's the idea behind a hostile takeovers. They go directly, like they announce, it's like, hey, if you own Warner Brothers stock, we will buy it from you for this over market value. And the more stock that they accumulate, the more ownership stake they get in the company, to the point where they can say, hey, we're backing out of the Netflix deal.
Right. Well, they gain 51% and they can just back out of it. Yeah. The thing about this is, I think for most shareholders, and I was talking to Sean about this, most shareholders know that the sale is going to happen to someone regardless. So there's two stories here. There's I want, Hollywood and this legendary studio that we all love to stay intact. Yeah, 100%. But it's going to happen no matter what. So here's the secondary thing. I hope I, as a shareholder, make as much money as possible from the sale. as someone
Yeah,
who's been supporting Warner Brothers for 5 years.
You need to make up for that Disney stock.
Yeah, for sure. You know what's crazy is if this sale actually happens and I get the Discovery Global, which is maybe $3 or $4 a share, I can dump those. I get the Netflix stock, I can dump that, plus the $27 on my current share. I might actually come out on top, even with the Disney loss.
That's
but we
sell the Disney to put it in something else.
Yeah, we all know though that he'll come back and he'll go, "I've bought more Disney stock."
I'm trying to lower my average. I buy so much that I lower my average to a profitable point.
Exactly. Speaking of profitability, guys, real quick, we got some super chats. Fluffy Panda, the head of Brian's fan club, member for 23 months, says, "It seems like most of the great content that's on Netflix isn't even made by them, like the Korean TV movies." Right. Do we know who's in charge there? So like Netflix is a global brand, so like they're getting stuff from all over the world. It's very true. I don't.
But they also don't make stuff. They hire people to make stuff.
Yes,
it's not like a regular studio. It's more like Amazon.
They're a financier, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
So like when The Witcher failed, just a reminder, Witcher didn't fail because of Netflix. It failed because of Lauren Hitchrich, whatever her name is. And her cadre, her troop. What is it? What is a group of witches called? A coven. Her coven of cat ladies that only wanted to see Henry Cavill in a bath with his shirt off every 5 minutes. So Lauren Hitchrich, who had control of the show as showrunner, literally had 10 out of 12 people were all single queer white ladies. Okay. And all they wanted to do was constantly write Henry Cavill into a nude scene. And eventually Henry Cavill was like, "Yo, this is stupid. I'm being objectified every 5 minutes. I'm going to go play video games. You guys figure it out." And then they fired him. Had nothing to do with Netflix and everything to do with the person Netflix hired. And that's all of their properties, all of their shows, all of their movies are all financing creatives. If you like Adam Sandler, the guy still has a contract. He makes Adam Sandler movies. Netflix has no say on what he's making. He just goes, "I'm going to deliver on what you paid me to deliver." That's it. That's what Netflix is. It's not a traditional studio.
Brian, I didn't think it was possible, but you successfully filibustered Odin off the show.
I'm sorry, Odin.
he was like, "I have to get to my kids. Can we wrap this up?" I'm like, "Yes," and Brian just keeps talking. So,
I apologize, guys.
It's cool. It's cool. Kalikioki,
love you, Odin.
$2. Name something worse. It's HW history, Brian.
In Hollywood history, he's trying to he's trying to stay under that $2 super chat limit.
Okay.
Which is fine. Yeah. There's actually a lot of things. I remember people complaining about Disney buying Fox. I remember people complaining about. I remember two sides.
They were right. They were right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they were.
I remember two sides. I remember when Disney bought Fox, there were people like, "Yes, Marvel's going to get the X-Men now." Oh. Right? And they were just like the people who are thinking about Snyderverse coming back right now with Netflix. And there's the other side of people going, this is antitrust. Right? That there's one in recent history. You think this is the first studio to be bought and sold? It's a very common thing. Warner Brothers has been bought and sold like 12 times. Like, guys, this is ridiculous. This is not remotely the worst thing. I would argue there's a lot worse things that can have happened. I think that COVID was the worst thing in Hollywood history, probably. In fact, I'm going to say that definitively. The worst thing in Hollywood history was what happened between the studios, the strikes, the theaters during COVID. That was the worst thing. Hollywood was already on decline because of their bad decisions and propagandizing, and COVID just made it so much worse. It actually consolidated their bad decisions into one permeable, completely unavoidable, fixed point in time, to take a Doctor Who reference.
All right, and
don't do that.
Kalikioki for $5.
I mean, fucking Doctor Who is an answer. I mean, okay.
Everyone produces woke stuff, yes, including Warner Brothers. This buyout will have major ramifications across multiple industries. This will exacerbate the current issues. Do you agree with that, John?
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, I find the irony of it. You know, these were a lot of these actors when they were striking. What was it, last year or the year before? And they were basically demanding this and that, and all of this is happening. and they'll kick off about it. But I do think these actors eventually, once it goes through, they'll get in line because they'll go where the money is. They always go where the money is, regardless of what they feel. So
remember John Cena speaking in Mandarin Chinese? I'm like, what?
Yeah. So I think it's, as you were saying earlier, Matt, it's going to kick off. You know, there's going to be battles going on, political battles, but it will go through, and I think it will settle down to actors working with Netflix. I just think, for me, it's just a spike in that decline of the end of physical media and the reduction in theaters. I agree with Brian. It's not the start of it. It started quite a while back, but this is going to be a big spike moment in the decline.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that, but it's unavoidable. The second Ellison opened his mouth and offered and said he wanted to buy it.
Yeah, he's to blame. He's to blame.
Honestly, Ellison is to blame. Ellison is 100% to blame for the sale.
All right. Well, guys, we had a lot to talk about.
Wait, one quick thing.
No,
wait, Matt, real quick.
The show.
Real quick. Wait,
you have your own show right after this one.
I'm right. Fuber had a good point though. He said not throwing the commies out of Hollywood early in the 1900s and letting them fester for over half a century was thing. That's 100% true, because bad ideas die in the sunlight. Putting them into the darkness allowed them to grow. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Anyway, thank you for joining us today, everyone. We had a lot to talk about today. And these two guys on the panel are going to continue talking about it long after the show is over, because they have like another 3-hour live stream. I don't know. I know John just took a bath, but he might have to pee in a jar before they get started again, just like Brian does. Brian, tell us again, what are you guys talking about on the Brain Show today?
Well, we're 100% talking about this damn deal. I'm not done yet. So we're 100%, we're 1,000% talking about the Netflix deal. Okay, I know the thumbnail right now is up at Starfleet Academy, but I'm gonna warn you guys, that's a small part of what we're talking about, because this is gonna dominate a lot of the conversation. But we're also gonna talk about some of the Chinese stuff. There's a lot of entertainment news today. I hope you guys can join us.
Is Shane going to be on the show?
He is going to be on the show. Yeah.
Okay, I'd be interested to hear his takes on these things. He's a little bit more moderate than you are.
He is more moderate, and he understands the stock market. Like, that's like his passion. So,
right on. And John, anything you want to shout out before we get going? Any last thoughts?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been good fun as always. Tomorrow,
Stargate. Yeah,
Stargate SG1 live watch party at 12:30 PST. We've got another 2 episodes of season 3, and I can't wait to get into it. So if you like SG1 or you want to watch it for the first time, come and join us. We watch it in the Discord server together, and then we chat along in the YouTube live chat. So come and see it. Cheers, guys.
All right. Well, we want to give a big shout out to John Yulden, who just finished wrapping up, Mexican Iron Man, Doomed Hunt, and Kaliki Oki. Guys, thank you so much for your super chats. Always appreciate those. And just so you guys know, we've got 2 more Salty Saturdays this month before the end of the year. Brian, why are you gay?
Why are you gay? Why are you gay?
Sorry. That will be continued.
You are gay.
Yes.
Why are you gay?
Yes, exactly. So basically we've got 2 more Salty Saturdays of the year. We're going to be taking the Christmas holiday off, and I'm going to be traveling on the 3rd of January. So basically we're going to be coming back in January after 2 more episodes. So I hope you guys enjoy this stuff. We're going to be wrapping up the 2025 with style and poise and everything that Brian brings to the table, essentially.
Which is none of those things.
But stay tuned, because through the magic of YouTube technology, we will be redirecting you to the Brain Show right after this. But until next time, my friends, stay salty.